It'll be a while before SpaceX joins the S&P 500 ETFs. The decision was made that SpaceX will not be fast-tracked into the S&P 500. The index provider's decision isn't just specific to SpaceX. It could have other massive upcoming IPOs, such as Anthropic and OpenAI, which are expected to be on the offering calendars later this year. So we're going to talk about what that means. I know a lot of investors have been thinking of adding SpaceX from a indirect standpoint directly into their retirement funds, perhaps in their ETFs that they own. So we're going to look at the ETFs or indexes that will be including SpaceX and those that won't, and really what that means. So I'm Tom the Investing Tiger. Let's go ahead and jump in. So investors will have plenty of alternatives when it comes to broad market ETFs that will include SpaceX. So, as you know, SpaceX went public on Friday, and there is a pathway of indexes including it. A lot of people have been aware that the NASDAQ 100 is going to include SpaceX, but there's actually a bigger index or an ETF group that will have SpaceX in there in just a matter of days. By the end of this week, the 18th or 19th, it should be included in there. So let's go ahead and take a look. So here are the main indexes. As you can see, the roadmap here, June 12th, as you know, we had the IPO. So June 18th, 5 trading days later, CRPS will actually include it. And what that means, if you're a holder of a total stock market fund, Vanguard offers, for instance, the VTI, SpaceX will be included in there. Bump it out a little bit further, right after, let's call it the 4th of July, 15 trading days, I would expect the NASDAQ 100 to include it. So if you own ETFs like the QQQs, commonly referred to, SpaceX will be included in there. But what are your thoughts about the S&P 500 leaving it out? And I think there's a timetable that is not getting reported correctly on when the S&P 500 may include SpaceX. So what do you think about that? If you think about it this way, SpaceX, right or wrong, has a market cap of give or take $2 trillion at the time of recording this. Anthropic and OpenAI are expected to be, if and when they go public this year, $1 trillion each. Those 3 companies would actually, on a market cap basis, be right there in the top 10. SpaceX right now falls in between number 6, Amazon, and Broadcom at number 7, give or take. Anthropic and OpenAI, again, all 3 of them, it would be the trillionaire trio, I call them, just left out of the S&P 500. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Historically, we've always had a rule in the S&P 500, and they've enforced it, that there was a seasoning period of 12 months being publicly traded and several quarters, I believe it's 4 quarters of GAAP profitability. So a lot of things, the incorrect thing that's being pointed out with the S&P 500 and SpaceX being included in it is the fact that it will be in, you have to wait a year, and that's the incorrect part. It has to be 4 quarters of GAAP profitability. And, if SpaceX is not profitable this quarter, which I don't see happening next quarter, the quarter after, that may be well into a year. I personally would think 2028 before it shows up there. So if you do want indirect ownership and exposure to SpaceX, you're not going to be able to get it at least for a year. I'd say 18 months, maybe closer to 2 years in your S&P 500 funds. Where you can get it is early next week or late next week, a total stock market fund, early July, a NASDAQ QQQs. I'd also look for actively managed ETFs that follow the space economy, UFO, that's a symbol that comes to mind. Not saying they're going to have it in there, but I would think that's the investing space that they invest in. Perhaps they will add it in there. One thing that will pop up, and this will be a moneymaker, and people I don't think understand the risk they're taking before they do something, when you start seeing SpaceX leveraged ETFs, those are going to pop up. I've seen several articles on it. Be careful. Know what you're buying before you buy it. There's a couple of things with it. Generally, heavy fees go into it. About 1% of your assets are being charged, and it's leveraged. Look at it. SpaceX is probably going to be a beta of 2. What that means is it's going to be twice as volatile as the stock market. Now you're going to leverage it either long or short. You're going to be like on, this is to be SpaceX on steroids. So I know it might be appealing to see, who knows what a leverage ETF gets priced at when people look at buying something at a share price. I bet it will be a share price lower than 135, 160, or whatever SpaceX is trading at. You're not buying SpaceX directly. You're buying a synthetic product that tracks SpaceX. So if you find this information helpful, please subscribe, like, share, and leave a comment below. I really would like to know what you think about this philosophical approach at the S&P 500 of just not including potentially 3 of the 10 largest companies from a capitalization standpoint in the US.